folks who can't join us live can learn about it WooClap later. So welcome to our session on creating more student engagement with WooClap. I'm going to turn it over to Kieran and Jamie and learn along with y'all. Thanks.
Hi everyone, and thanks Sarah for the intro. I do like the title of WooClap Guru, so I think I'll be keeping that. Um, yeah, here we go. So I thought that today, just to give you a little outline of our presentation today. We'll be taking you through what WooClap is, how you can create interactive questions, how you can integrate them into your presentations. Then we'll be looking at different features to sort of customize your experience with the tool. And of course, yeah, we're lucky to have Jamie with us today, who'll be telling us a bit about how he's used the tool in class and how it's sort of changed his teaching methods as well. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to give you an opportunity to already connect to WooClap, and so you'll be acting already as students really and participating, and you'll be able to see what it's like to interact with the tool. So to participate, you can either scan the QR code or I'm going to add a link in the chat. So you can click on the link in the chat or scan the QR code to connect to the event. So as a presenter, I always can look at in the bottom right corner here. So I see I have 3 people connected, so I can always wait until I have the right amount of people before starting with my interactive questions. I have 4 people now. Just wait for one more, and perfect. I think we have the right number now. I can move on to my first interactive question. This is an icebreaker question, which is what best represents your mood? Which mask best represents your mood? What represents your mood best in this image? So this is a point on the image question. So all you have to do is select it and then validate your answer. And then for me as a presenter, it's a way of sort of getting the conversation going with the students, maybe at the beginning of a class. So you can see as I'm receiving those answers, they're appearing live on my projected screen. So I can see most of you are on the left-hand side, which is rather good, or in the middle. Perfect. Thanks for your answers. Icebreaker questions, I think, can be quite practical for just making sure that all your students are connected to the WooClap event as well. You get the conversation going, and you make sure that everyone is already comfortable with using it before moving on to maybe some of your more important questions. Sorry, it looks like. And I have it on the second question type here, which is describe your experience working from home in one word. Do you like it? Do you not? I know this one usually gets very different answers. Maybe you'll have another opportunity to work from home if you have a storm coming. So convenient is one word, and here we've used the word cloud question type. So the advantage of using the word cloud question type is you get to interact with a large amount of students. Everyone gets that opportunity to use the tool and participate. And what's really great with the word cloud question is that any answer that comes in multiple times is going to be made bigger in the word cloud. So you'll be able to see directly on your projected screen any trends there are in answers that you've collected. So here you can see lovelies come in, distracting, cats, and yeah, as a presenter, I'm always going to have my display options on the left-hand side. So you can see them here on the left-hand side. Here I'm in the word cloud option. I can show them in the list format. And as you can see, the word fun has come in multiple times. So if I go back to the word cloud, you can see that fun has been made bigger. So yeah, if I just stay on that word cloud, I'm going to be able to really see the trends in the answers that I'm collecting from everyone. So yeah, thanks for your answers. And I think we can already move on. I want to keep the intro part a bit short so we can move on to how you can create your content. And of course, throughout this presentation, if you have a question, you can yeah, either raise your hand or add the question in the chat, or just yeah, open your mic and ask. We're a small enough group that we can do that today. So yeah, don't hesitate if you have any questions. And otherwise, I'm going to start with the content creation part. All right. So this is the page that you'll arrive on once you've created your WooClap account. So as long as you're using your college email, you'll have an unlimited access to WooClap. So if as long as you use your email with like the university domain, the college domain, you'll have access to the tool and all its functionalities. And the first thing you want to do then is, of course, create an event. So an event is to be considered one unique class that you'll be teaching. So here, for example, if I'm teaching a geography class, I would just rename it geography class, January 25. So I've renamed the course here at the top. And of course, the first thing to do then is to start creating a question. But maybe before creating that question, I'm going to start thinking about where are the moments where I want to interact with my students? Do I want to maybe evaluate their understanding of prerequisites? Do I want to maybe think of what are the key notions and terms I'm trying to get across in this class? And then according to all those points you've identified, then you can start creating those questions. And when you press on a new question here, you'll see that they're categorized in these different categories here. So you have your questions to assess understanding. Uh, you have your typical multiple choice questions, open questions, label and image, as you can see here. You have a drag and drop where you would define those categories and they simply go place them. You have a find on image question, which is the one that we used with the icebreaker. Matching question types, fill in the blanks, find a number. Yeah, there's quite a few. Quite a few questions, question types. So if there are any that you're interested in and you'd like us to try out today, don't hesitate to tell me. Otherwise, I'll pick out a few myself. Yeah, sorting. These are a bit more technical. I can get into that if you're interested. The second category you'll see here are questions to gather feedback. So you could create a framework question. For example, here we have the example of a SWOT analysis, a polling question, the word cloud that we just used, brainstorming where you would define different categories and your students would be able to send in answers and you can change them from one category to another, rating question and prioritization. And then finally, the last category are question types just to showcase information. So if you want to add audio or a video, you want to create a slide, add a timer as a question type, or a spin the wheel, all of that is in this category. All right, so we've had a little overview of the different question types. And now we'll look into how we can already start creating our content on WooClap. So here, for example, if I'm teaching a geography class, maybe a prerequisite is understanding the notion of GDP. So maybe I just want to poll my students real quick at the beginning of the class. And to do that, then I would just select the polling question. So I'm just going to click on poll here. And that's going to bring me to this interface. So it's always going to be structured in the same way, where you'll have your question at the top and the options that the students can select and choose from at the bottom. So here at the top, I'll add, do you understand the notion of GDP? So my question at the top, I can add image or audio to that if I want to. And then at the bottom, it's going to be yes or no. And on the right-hand side, I'll always have additional options. So I could allow multiple answers. I could also allow comments from students. I'm not going to allow those in this case, but those options will always be on the right-hand side. And then I can simply save, and my question appears here. So now I'm going to create a new question. So maybe I'm teaching a class on capitals in Europe, and I can ask one question using a multiple choice in this case, asking. So I've clicked on multiple choice. Again, the question at the top, what is the capital France? Question at the top, the options to select from at the bottom. Is it Paris? Is it London? Or is it Dublin? And in this case, I have to select the correct answer here. And again, now I press on save, and you'll see that that question now appears here. Finally, we'll create one last question together, maybe using an image this time. So I could use either a label and image, I could do it as a drag and drop. In this case, I'm going to use a find on image. So I'm going to click on find on image here. Again, the question at the top, where is Colombia located on this map? So question at the top, and here I'm going to come and import a question from my computer. Okay, so my question at the top, I've imported this image from my computer, and all I have to do is define a zone in which I consider all answers to be correct. And to do that, I just click on Add Zone here. And I can add either a circle or a rectangle. I'm just going to add a circle and come place that right here and save. Okay, so we've created our event, renamed it, created our free questions. Now I can already, if I want to, show up to class and project my screen the way I'm doing it here in the video conferencing tool. But that can be done, of course, in person. And you'll see that you always have this line, how to participate, which is the instructions to connect to the event. So I could show up to my class already, display this, have everyone connect, and then move on to my questions, which is, totally acceptable way of doing it. Now you might have, an existing PowerPoint presentation or a PDF or something that you'll be using to teach your class, and maybe you want your questions to be a part of that presentation. And to do that, you can import your presentation and then insert your questions within the presentation on WooClap. And I'm going to show you how you can do that right now. So you can see you have an Add Presentation button here. So I'm going to go Add a Presentation. You'll see here you can import a PDF, a PowerPoint, Keynote. This also works on Google Slides. So I'm going to go ahead and import a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so my presentation's been imported. And now you can see that just beneath it, I have the Insert Questions button. So if I click on Insert Questions here, I have this tutorial that'll show up. It'll be there to guide you next time. I'll take you through it myself today. So yeah, as you can see on the left side here, I have each one of the slides as part of my presentation. And on the right-hand side, we have all the questions we just created together. So here, see, I have an intro slide here. So maybe after that intro slide, and before I get into the slide on GDP, maybe I can insert that question that we created, that poll on GDP. So to do that, I need to make sure, of course, that all my students connect to the event. So I need to just drag and drop the instructions here, then drag and drop my first question right after. Then I could have my question on France appear here, and my last question here. So as you can see now, my questions, my interactive questions that I've just created really become a part of my presentation, and I can just go from my from my presentation into the question and back into the presentation. So if I press on save now, everything's ready. I can just show up to class, project this screen, and press on start. And then just using my keyboard as I usually would, I'd be going from my content, from my presentation, into my interactive questions, back into the presentation, just as we created it. Is everything clear for the moment? Just want to take a little moment now, just to make sure.
And Kieran, and I'll mention this a little bit later, but I'll kind of explain how our instructors can start in the LMS and how we have that tool already integrated, and then get to that point. So hopefully that'll explain, where you should start. So just moving forward, we'll have an answer to that. At least I'll try my best.
There is a question saying, can you use the same question more than once? So you can. Now it's still going to have the answers previously collected. If you want to use the same question and have it sort of like reset the second time, you just need to duplicate that question here and then use it the second time. Yeah. My pleasure. Okay, so now I'm gonna take you through these different features here and options you have here, and you'll see how you can sort of customize your experience with the tool. And the first option you see here is authentication. So as you saw today, when you were participating, you simply scanned the QR code or clicked on the link, and you were participating directly. But it's also possible to require a form of authentication from your students. And all of those options are available here in authentication. You have email login, so you could require for them to connect using their email, social, which is Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, Microsoft. And one thing to take into consideration is that if you've integrated it into your LMS, by simply clicking on the activity in the LMS, they're going to be authenticated already, the students, because it's integrated in the LMS, so the information is coming from the LMS. So it won't require that additional step. The next option you see here is an attendance sheet. So if I've activated an attendance sheet, I'm going to have just a list of the participants with when they connected, and that's something that I can export both into the LMS and into a PDF format. Now, the next option you see here is the participant username. This is, let's say, a more informal way of authenticating users, where I give the user the possibility to choose his own username to connect to the event. So I'll activate that, and we'll launch the event after. The next option you see here is results visible by default. So as you saw when you were participating today, as I collected the answers, they were appearing live on the projected screen. So that's great in terms of interactivity. It's great visually. Now, if you're really trying to gain an understanding of if the students understand this key notion or term, and it's important to know, then maybe if you have this activated in certain cases, some students might wait to see what answer is coming in the most before giving their answer. So if you want to keep control over when you display the answers collected, you can deactivate this option. And I'll be relaunching the event, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. The next option you see here is the I'm confused button. So if I activate it here, I give students the possibility on their interface to just simply click on a button stating that they're confused, and that's going to appear on my interface as a presenter on the projected screen. And finally, the competition mode can be activated here. And so that competition mode, if you've activated some form of authentication, as a presenter, you have the possibility to click on a little trophy that's going to display the podium of the participants that have collected the most points in their participation. we've gone for those. Now, before I relaunch the event, we've been in the votes tab so far. But another way you can interact with your students via WooClap is through messages. So they're not to be considered private messages between the student and the teacher, but more like a message that you can project to the whole class. So if I go into the messages tab here, I can activate the wall of messages, likes, and images. And that gives students the possibility to like send in those questions, those remarks, and you as a teacher will have a wall of messages where all of those questions, remarks will appear, and you can bring certain ones to the attention of the class. You can zoom in on them, and yeah, again, we'll see what all of that looks like in just a bit. And yeah, before relaunching my event, I see there are a few messages as well. Yeah, when you're getting started and you're going through the questions and looking at maybe how would I use a fill in the blanks question, what is an example of an SCT question here, the examples gallery can be a good source of inspiration for getting started. So if I just take a quick look here at the examples gallery, you can look at, for example, how would I use WooClap in the context of economy or management, and using a sorted question or an open question. So yeah, you can sort of like flick through them there. And here, for example, I'm gonna use find a number. I can preview the question. So how many bones does an adult human being have? I can then add that to my presentation if I want to, as you can see here. Okay. Let me just check the chat real quick.
And we got one question.
Perfect. Yeah, question from Terry, where when a student hits the I'm confused button, do the participants see that? Yes, they do. So that appears on the projected screen. So it is the screen that you're projecting to everyone. And you'll have a better idea of what I'm talking about now because I'm going to show you. So I'm going to ask you to connect again to this event. So I'm adding it. I'm adding the link in the chat. So the link I just copied from here, but it's the same link that you'll see here. And if you could reconnect to this event, and we'll be able to test out some of those features that we've activated and try out these questions together. Perfect. Again, as a presenter, always in the bottom right corner, I have that information of how many people are connected to the event. And now you can see here at the top of my screen, I can see one person's confused. Perfect, someone found the button. You can see it, that information is at the top here. We'll move on to our first interactive question here. Do you understand the notion of GDP? So this is just a polling question in this case. So you'll see the difference here is I've deactivated results visible by default. So here I have the information that I have collected 3 responses. I can also see that in the bottom right corner. But those responses aren't showing as long as I haven't clicked on the results here because I've deactivated results visible by default. So in the case of a poll, it doesn't make as much sense, of course, but in the case of a multiple choice question, where you really want to evaluate their understanding of that question, it does make more sense to deactivate. I move on to my next question. What is the capital of France? Is it Paris, London, or Dublin? Yeah, again, I can see all my answers and then I can display them live by clicking here, and then can display the correct answer by clicking at the bottom, which will appear both on my interface as a teacher and on yours, students. Moving on to my next question. Where is Colombia located on this map? So again, if I want the results to be displayed live, all I have to do is click on results here and they'll all appear live. But if I don't want students to be looking at what the others are answering, I'll just click on that and wait until I've collected the right amount of answers before showing them. Okay. Perfect. And moving on to my last one, I put in a more difficult question for the last one, just so that we have different scores on the podium. This serves as a reminder that you can use GIFs and images also in your questions, as you can see here. Perfect. I think we have almost all the answers are in. So I can see all of the answers collected here. And of course, always the display options on the left-hand side. And the correct answer was 206. And here I'd accepted any answer between 200 and 212 as a correct answer. And I get that stat here. And now if you can maybe just look for the message function now that you've sent in your answers, and we can have a quick look at what the message wall looks like. Perfect. So yeah, as you can see as a presenter here, I have that information that I've received 2 messages here, and I can just simply click on messages. Perfect. Thank you for your messages. And then yeah, as a presenter, if I have a lot of different messages in here and I want to focus on one, I can just simply click on it, bring that one to the attention of the class. There's also a way, if you've activated authentication, there's also a way of displaying the name of the person that sent in those answers under, if you want. So that's available in more settings. Perfect. Thank you. And finally, the last option we didn't see is the podium. So if you've activated the competition mode, all you have to do is select, click on the little trophy here at the bottom. And I can display the podium. Congrats, Justin. Justin in the first place here. I can show top 3, top 5, top 10. So yeah, always have those options there. Perfect. I can see some emojis coming in as well. So yeah, students will have possibility to send sort of reactions that show up on the screen. If that's distracting you or you don't want to have that, you can always disable reactions by simply clicking here as a presenter. I'll leave them on. No prize, Terry. Just checking the chat, unfortunately. Sorry. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, thanks for your participation. And yeah, of course, one of the big uses of using a digital tool is that while you're collecting data on participants, on their performance, and all of that data that you're collecting can be turned into a better understanding of maybe where students are having a hard time, of where they might be lacking some extra resources, and all of that can be found in the report function that you see here. So here at the bottom of my screen, I have a report. So if I click on the report, I have multiple tabs. So the first one is the full presentation, which is my slides plus the questions, the interactive questions within those slides, as you can see here. Each one of these options can be exported. So I see the number of participants too. I can break it down question per question. So this is giving me an overview of the whole class, of their understanding. So 6 out of 7 got this one right. But for this one, only 2 out of 7 got it right. So maybe I want to, add some extra resources on that last question. Then I can break it down per participant. Here I can select the participant I want and see what their performance was. If I've activated some form of authentication as well, I can send an individual report, which means that each student was going to receive in their inbox something exactly like this, actually, of their own participation, what they answered, what the correct answer was, just going back on on those questions. And finally, the last option is the grid, which is sort of like a hybrid between the others, where you'll see each student, their total, and then the answers they gave per question. At the bottom, you'll have an average for the whole class. Does all of this make sense? Are there any questions? Far so good.
Uh, Kieran, I was wondering if I could, I'm actually trying to remember myself, but there's an anonymous mode, and you may have caught that. I'm sorry if I missed that. Where's the button where they can answer anonymously?
Yeah. So by default, an event is going to be anonymous. And it's only going to be authenticated if I activate a form of authentication here. Otherwise, it'll be by default anonymous.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's what that makes sense.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, so I think another important aspect is also collaboration and sharing your content. If you want to share it with colleagues, if you want to share it with even students, or if you want to co-create an event with someone else, all of those are options are possible on WooClap, and all of them can be found in the share option here. So if I click on share here, I have multiple options. So the first one is to share an event with its code. So if I activate this here, all I have to do is copy the unique code of my event and then send that to my colleague that I want to share this with. And then let's see. And then he's going to be able to import that event directly in his account. So I've activated the sharing option here. I've copied this and sent it to a colleague. And now in this new tab, let's say I am the colleague, and in my event, in my account, I can just press on import event instead of create event and just paste the code here. And when I press on import, it creates a separate by identical copy of my colleague's event. That's the first sharing option. The other sharing option that you see here is to add someone as a collaborator. So if I add someone, I would just add their email address, and they're going to receive an invitation link to your event, and you'll be able to both contribute to the same event on your separate accounts. So some of your sharing options. Yeah, let me just check the chat again. Good. Okay, perfect.
Karen, I have a
Yeah,
this is Sarah. I have a couple quick things I just wanted to note with folks, if that's okay.
absolutely.
The presentation feature and pulling in a PowerPoint is really great, and I love doing that. One thing that I learned is that, like I like to do a lot of transitions and animations. Well, not animations as much, but all of that becomes static when you're pulling in a PowerPoint. So essentially it turns it into a PDF. So just think about that and think about how you might duplicate slides. For example, if you have like a bulleted list and usually it shows up one bullet at a time, it's not going to do that once you pull it into the WooClap. So it might slightly change the way you set up your PowerPoint if you're planning on using it in a WooClap. And then the second thing I was going to mention is that we do have the ability to do these asynchronously. Most people want to do them as synchronous events, but you can do it asynchronously, and then you can look at the results and you can use those for like participation grades and that kind of thing. There's a couple ways to do it. I don't know, Kieran, is that something you were going to cover?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll stop talking.
No problem. And yeah, actually, it's a perfect transition into the asynchronous mode. So so far we've looked at the votes tab, which is to be considered as synchronous tab, the messages tab, and the last one that we haven't looked into is the participant pace tab. So if I click on participant pace, I'm going to be able to create an asynchronous questionnaire here. So here I can just simply create, let's see, geography revision. So I've renamed my asynchronous event, And now I can either create it from scratch, which would be the same process as what we looked into in the first part, or I could just import the questions. So for example, when I was going through the report, I saw that maybe some of my students had a hard time with that last question. So maybe I want to bring it to their attention again after the class. So I'm just going to import that question here. And then when I press on save, I have the option to either publish my asynchronous questionnaire right away or publish it later. I can publish later, or I can, if I decide to publish it later, I can always publish it from here as well. And then all I have to do is share this unique link with my students, share it here. And I'll add it in the chat, and you can answer the asynchronous questionnaire. One important thing to note is that once you've published your asynchronous questionnaire, it's going to stay online as long as you don't unpublish it here. So yeah, students will be able to answer it whenever they want. And all of the results from the asynchronous questionnaire, you'll be able to find in this tab, the participant paste tab, in the report here beside your questionnaire. So all of the results from a synchronous event, from a live event, are in the report here, and all of the results from the asynchronous questionnaire are in the report here, which is in the participant paste tab. Here, I'm going to click on report, and I can see that I already got an answer from Juliet here. Perfect.
Can I pop
Yeah,
in real quick too?
yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to do a PowerPoint enhanced asynchronous event. And so I found a workaround, and I think Karen, you and I talked about it. You would set it up on the synchronous side under votes, like you would normally do for synchronous, but then in the more settings tab over on the right, you would turn on the allow them to do it asynchronously. And then the only thing you have to do is you have to make sure that your PowerPoint slide is the first thing in the ordered slides. So once you turn on asynchronously on your WooClap and put your PowerPoint slide first, when they click on that link, they're going to see the name of it, and they'll be able to go in, and then they can work through the PowerPoint and the questions like it was a synchronous event. So that's kind of a little workaround.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any questions, or should I hand it over maybe to Jamie, who's going to tell us a bit about how he's used WooClap in class?
I'll just mention if any of you want to give this a shot, I would just combine and maybe the TLC, or maybe schedule an appointment. We can kind of walk you through what your needs are. We can customize this to whatever you need. So I'll just say that. So just feel free to kick the tires on it, or we can kind of walk you through each step. So you make sure that your students are seeing the right thing. We can always input test students into your course as well. So there's a lot of flexibility with support there. Okay, is that me?
Yeah, absolutely. I've stopped
Okay.
sharing my screen.
All right, good.
You can
Okay.
share your screen already.
I'll jump right in here. Okay, so thank you, Kieran. I every time I learn something new about this about the software, and I've used it quite a bit, but I'm still picking up one thing at a time here. To kind of pick up on the integration piece, I was going to take you through kind of what you want to do if you wanted to add it to the course. It's changed just a little bit since we've had our integration. But what you're seeing here is just my testing shell. So if you want to, like I say, if you want to demo this, or take it for a test drive, it's really just a matter of adding the activity from your course shell. And you want to go, I'm in Start. You want to go to all activities, scroll all the way down, and then the WooClap integration is going to be right there. So, and
Actually, I think you want to use that 1.3. We want to use the updated one, Jamie. Can you go back? There's a second WooClap that Leah added that we're supposed to be using. I'm sorry.
Oh, there's two. Oh, wow.
Yep,
Thank you.
we got to use the new one. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, then in that case, what I would do if I were an instructor, I would definitely star that one, so you don't make the same mistake that I did. So star that one to put it on your favorites, so that when you add the activity, it'll be right there.
Question.
Okay.
Oh, I see it now. 1.3. Okay.
Yeah. Um,
Thank
so
you.
to do that one more time, activity or resource. I've got starred and one clap. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. So here you'll recognize this as just the settings for any activity. What you want to make sure you select is just to put it into a category. It can be, most of the time it's participation. This is if you're wanting to integrate it into your gradebook, or if you wanted to make it available asynchronous through the LMS. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit. So I'll just save and return to course. And from the LMS standpoint, that's about all you have to do, because that the student will see the link to the external tool here at the bottom. And you can move that wherever you need to in your course. So of course, there's not going to be anything in that one. So I'm gonna kind of step back a little bit. That was the more the tactical side of that, of how you integrate it into my courses. But what I was going to talk about today is just, and we only have about 15 minutes. I'm not going to go on too long, but I taught a CIS course back in the fall of 23, and I tend to just go all in with when I find a new piece of software, and WooClap was just really there every step of the way. If I wanted to be creative, if you want to dial it back and get very down to specifics, it really allows you to do that. And in a lot of ways, it felt like I was flying the plane as I was building it. So it was a interesting experience, trying a lot of this out for the first time. But one of the things that I was looking at is this is how do you set the tone in the beginning of the semester? Uh, we've all been there. It's like that first moment of an in-person class where you read the administration aspects, discuss the syllabus, the first day stuff, and then you present the objectives. So what happens after that? That's something that I've always kind of struggled with. Do you jump right into the lecture? Do you do the labs? Do you do a group assignment? Or what's the strategy here? So, and just in an effort to really just create an icebreaker and something that would create a safe space for people. And it was a leap of faith, but I went and started with a live WooClap session. That was the first thing I did, where I asked just very general questions about technology that wasn't really meant. It was just a kind of a knowledge check, a pre-knowledge check, I guess, before we really started into the lecture. So, when I asked, say, okay, everyone pull out your cell phones. You saw the look of surprise of, oh, okay, you want me to use my cell phone in class? And and then when the WooClap was over, I said, okay, put your phones away now. But they got to, we did this every class, and they got really comfortable with how it began, and how they were able to join and immediately engage. So and a lot of times it really promoted a healthy discussion. So I'll take you through just some of the activities that I use. So this is my old CIS course. And of course, I have the external tool right there. So let me show you the first one that I did. It's not okay. Icebreakers. So this was the first thing that they really saw. There's a mix of questions. Of course, when the students see the QR code, they know exactly what to do. So this is kind of what they saw, and I'll just take you through a few of these questions of the very general. And maybe some lessons learned that I figured out in my semester there. So, with the open question, this is just allows them to respond openly. And so we had a wide variety of abilities and ages in the group. So in my case, I had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood. So, I wanted to see what their experience was. So this really has nothing to do with hard drives or cybersecurity, but it's just getting an idea of where they are. And they felt really comfortable just answering these questions and trying to give them enough time to answer them. And of course, there's always the one thing that I made a mistake here was that this question is well, it's kind of a mess, really. It's a really three questions. So this was the response that I got. Again, wasn't entirely sure what I was doing yet. But when I saw this word cloud, I didn't really know what to do with all these. And then I realized, okay, there's a results list. That's what you need to click on. So every tool has a perfect use case there, and nothing just dependent on what your questions are. You can find the different kind of questions that correspond to that. So again, I should have simplified the question, but it's one of those live and learn kind of things. So the word cloud is really good for, well, for one word responses or maybe two. So just more polling. These are very casual questions that. So this was an interesting question. When I asked this, immediately had one yes, and this student was pretty shy, and I remember how much they lit up whenever they got to talk about their own computer setup, because it was really in line with my objectives, and it getting the conversation going. He really became a leader in this particular question because he was very excited about his setup, and it created a really good discussion. So, and then I finally ended with some matching, and I realized this was over teaching for the first day of class. I didn't want to stress anyone out. So, I assured them this was not for a grade. This was just an in-person class. So just do your best. And although a lot of them had no idea what these terms are, it still allowed them to try and practice in kind of a low stakes environment. So just in terms of the setting the tone with an icebreaker, that was enough for me to continue with the WooClap. I was sold at that point because it gave such an easy transition to the rest of the class. Another thing I used it for as it went on into the semester, and we started getting a little more comfortable with the process, is like a mid-class check-in. Is to if you go through a lecture and you see that you've got some lost faces. So when I was talking about file management, I had a little questionnaire. I'll just pull that up. So this is just a kind of how's it going so far. Let's just get and then as we're talking about file management, I did more polling. I won't go through all these, but here's an example of a slide. So I had a PowerPoint that I had made, and I did import it, but I ended up just using the slide, which was enough for this particular use case. So it allows you to add text and images and format that and align it, and it was enough for my uses. Had it to do over again, I'd like to have a little more visually, just make it a little more visually interesting by uploading like a PowerPoint with a theme. So yeah, just going through those kind of questions and adding, it's not just for polling or answering questions, but you can really start to present material at the same time. So it becomes this really good conversation that's mixed with lecture. So and the mid-class check-in was really good for adjusting my pacing, because if I have an instant analytic built in right there. If I present a polling question or a multiple choice and half the class gets it, then that tells me that, well, okay, maybe I should think about this material a little bit differently or explain one thing again. So for those key concepts, it was really helpful. So looking at so my class was in person, but I had students that would miss, and I wanted to have inclusivity for all those people if they couldn't be, if they could still participate in the discussion. So this is where the LMS link will really come in handy, because they can just go there and they can actually get into the WooClap through sorry, I'd already said that, through the LMS. But it does encourage accountability and participation in that. I'll just kind of give you some of the benefits of things that I learned from this venture, and then I've talked with other faculty about how they're using it, and of course I'm always open to ideas, and because there's a lot that you can do with it. Uh, so so there's the cybersecurity questions. Yeah. So one of the benefits, I mean, it really does encourage participation from students, even especially the quieter ones, who, if I were to ask, what's your favorite thing about technology? And I could wait for 2 minutes and, you would hear nothing but crickets, but this gave them a chance to really stop and think about it. Again, the instant feedback was really helpful for me, and the anonymity behind that, and that they could answer. And if I saw an answer that was interesting, I could, I then had an option to say, well, okay, who answered this? Who answered what? And do you want to speak up and talk about why you answered that way or something like that? So it really does kind of value add your lecture. I was thinking about some other use cases, and I'll leave some time for questions here at the end. But even as the software is developed, there are new tools that you can use now, like the brainstorming tool. That's something that I've just learned about, but I used it a lot for brainstorm and idea generation. So tools like the word cloud or open questions or polling, something like that. So you could even use it. See, I used it as like a pre-class reflection. You could use it actually as a post-class, like an exit ticket, if you wanted to link it to your course and have a multiple choice or some kind of a matching or drag and drop. You use that as the participation grade. We talked about this earlier, but a lecture supplement with your uploaded PowerPoints. And finally, I'm trying to remember who this was that did this, but the exam prep and review is a really handy thing. I mean, if you create an event and you just want them to practice taking a test, you can put multiple questions in there, and it makes a kind of a low stakes environment for them to do it. And let's talk a little bit about the best practices. Clearly, I mean, you want the activities to be in line with your learning objectives at all times. And when you make questions or slides, just using visuals to enhance that, images or diagrams. As you saw with that other one, I try to keep the questions simple. It really, I got too complicated in a lot of ways. So that was a lesson learned for me. And when you really need to think about something, just try to use your favorite AI generator. Use ChatGPT to say, well, okay, please generate 10 questions that can be used as an icebreaker for an intro to computer science class. And then start the conversation from there. Or if you need to get more in the weeds with it, you can say, I'm discussing like a topic of cybersecurity attacks. Please help me think of interactive ways to present the information and to check knowledge. And some prompt like that, and you can start having that. You can start building those questions that are more custom for your needs there. I think we got a question.
Yes, this is
Go ahead.
Michelle. So I was wondering about, you were talking about you already have the PowerPoint and you import it in there. You don't have to redevelop the PowerPoint, right? It's already in there and integrated once you import it.
Yeah, so it's going to be a static image. So it will keep your formatting, you will keep the look of the PowerPoint, but what it's going to do is flatten it to where it'll essentially convert it to a PDF. So any moving images, any animations, transitions that you had on the PowerPoint will not be transferred over. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kieran.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So That's kind of what I
Right.
wish I'd done differently, because I ended up just creating a lot of slides that weren't
And so
very engaging. Yeah.
if I have questions in the PowerPoint, those, well, okay, so do the questions become PDFs also, or those are not?
No, the questions are a live object that you can move around. So there's a document, the PowerPoint document, which is a PDF, and then you would import questions into that. Am I saying that's correct? Correct, Kieran. So you pull the questions into the PowerPoint, and then you
Okay.
present that as one thing.
But Michelle, if you've got questions listed on your PowerPoint slides, you may choose to hide those slides, which you can do once you pull it into WooClap, so that you don't have a duplication. So if you've already got like a PowerPoint with questions written in on slides, you may choose to like alter that PowerPoint or hide those question slides and then turn those questions, like have a WooClap question instead.
Okay, so you can do that. You can hide things when you're in there. That's helpful. Okay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And just to go into that real quick, you just import the presentation, and then it appears here. And then the questions you just insert inside of that presentation. So you'll see you have the interactive questions on the right-hand side. And this is the PowerPoint on the left-hand side. What you see here, these slides are the PowerPoint presentation that I just imported into my WooClap event. And I can rearrange them, I can delete them, and I can insert my questions within the presentation.
Okay, and then the students respond via
Yeah.
phone or whatever else.
Exactly. And then when I show up to class, all I do is press on start here, and I would then just go through my slides into the interactive questions, just using the keys on my keyboard.
Yeah, thanks, Kieran. Yeah, that's
Okay.
something that I want to explore a lot more of importing things that we built before. So anyway, I've got 2 o'clock. If there are any other questions, or again, I want to kind of use this as the beginning of a conversation for how we can help you, because we can help you set this up, or just let you get off the races. So just kind of keep in touch with us. Let us know. And Karen, thank you so much for your help. I look forward to the next one, because I know
Absolutely.
I'm gonna learn something there too.
Yeah, no, it was nice hearing from your use of WooClap too, Jamie. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, everyone, hope you be safe. Please be safe tomorrow, and we'll see you at the next one.